Now, what is going on, everyone? Alex Schlinsky here for Prospecting on Demand. As always, I'm joined by my co-host. Today is episode number 2 of the Anti-Hustlers Weekly Show. Really excited about today's episode. We're going to be doing live objection handling. If you are in our Facebook group watching live, you can ask me any objection that you deal with whatsoever in sales, myself or Brian, and we will happily answer for you, give you any feedback. The fun thing about the Anti-Hustlers Weekly Show is that you can actually join us directly live in the actual Zoom mastermind itself. Just jump on in and come say hello and come hang out. If you don't jump in, I always have stuff prepared, so it's totally fine either way. Before we get started with objections, I will show you the ones that I wanted to cover today so you have clarity on it. And then any additional ones that you'd like me to support you on, just ask. I got your back and I got you covered, so you can see all of them. Brian, before we get started, how you doing today?
I'm great. I'm not in my office. I'm up north it's not actually that cold. I need to start like a series of, you're from the Midwest when, and like that would be followed by when it's 37 degrees outside. And I'm like, it's actually not that bad.
That cold.
It's a nice day.
Absolutely.
So we went on a walk and we were having a good time with the dogs, and yeah, pumped to be here.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, I want to dive right in because we have David and Kevin directly on the show. Before I get started with any objections that I was going to break down, I just wanted to give the opportunity for David or Kevin, if either of you have an objection that you've been recently struggling with, is there one that I can help you on right now as we get rolling in here?
Yeah, Alex, thanks. From like a coaching perspective, folks always say, "Oh, I'm just researching. I need to look at other alternatives, or I'm researching other things." So be able to come
So that's what they're telling you on the call.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
At what point, David, are they saying that objection?
It's usually right towards the end after you've talked about the investment and everything to get.
Cool. Okay, excellent. So here's how you handle this more effectively moving forward. When we get the objection at the end of a call, whether it's for coaching or whether it's for advertising, whatever the offer that you make is, it's very common at the end of the call that they'll say like, oh, well, I have 2 other calls booked, or, I'm just considering my options and I'll get back to you. What we lost there was the urgency. So there's 4 W's in sales, right? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? What's the obstacle? And then what's the urgency? The urgency is the piece that's missing in that scenario, David. So earlier on in the call, let's make up the scenario of this client you're talking about. And let's say I'm completely making this information up, but it should give you the insight you're looking for. Let's say we work with car dealerships, all right? And the car dealership frame is, right now they're selling 10 cars per month. They like to be selling 30 cars per month. The biggest obstacle in ensuring that they can sell, right, the additional 20 cars per month is that they don't have effective marketing. And so you're like, okay, cool, I can help you. Before I understand, give you the insight on how we can support, can I understand how your decision-making process is working? Like, is this something that you're looking to achieve right now? Is this something you want to have in the next 6 months? Like, what is your timeline from going from 10 to 30 car sales per month? And when they tell you, well, we're speaking to multiple companies, we're kind of figuring it out, et cetera, now you can handle the objection a lot better, which I'm going to share with you how. But before I move off of that, is that making sense, Savage, like how you handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what's missing. I don't have that sense of urgency for sure.
Clarify that urgency, because a lot of people get concerned, David, about asking for urgency because there's fear that it will come off wrong. There's an easy way to frame how it won't come off inappropriate or incorrect. And the framing is just by telling them look, I would love to know how fast you're trying to go from 10 to 30 car sales per month, mostly because the more clarity I have on your timeline, the better I can give you a recommended budget for your advertising, and also making sure that we're on the same page. For clarity, I'm looking to work with someone as soon as possible. That's my ideal goal. But if you're looking for this, in 6 months from now, that's also totally fine too. Where are you at right now? And that way we can get absolute clarity on where they stand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Now, if they say in the midst of the call, David, they're like, oh, I am going to be making, I'm going to be speaking to multiple, people before I make my decision. You say, hey, that's totally fine. I completely respect that. Let me give you an alternative consideration if you're open to it. Are you open to that, David? Perfect.
Yes.
Here's my thoughts. Your ultimate goal here is to save as much time as possible and make as much money as possible. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. How many calls have you done before speaking to me?
2.
3. Two. Okay, two. Why did you not work with those other two companies? Was it just because you were like, oh, I'm going to speak to as many companies as I can before making that decision? Or is there something else? Role play it with me, David.
Yeah, I just wasn't totally sold and that's the right program. I'm afraid of getting burned. So I really
Gotcha.
want to do all my research and make sure
Do
this
due
is the right
diligence, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me make this easy for you. My goal is that as I go through the next process, if I make you an offer at the end of the call, I'm making an offer not only with confidence that it's the right fit for you, but it's the right fit in comparison to any company that you could possibly speak to. Meaning I will do, and I've already done my due diligence to dot all the I's and cross all the T's to ensure that you feel really confident that you don't have to waste another 6-7 hours on additional sales conversations, but also the additional time thereafter, kind of racking your brain about this decision. What I found, David, is that people who feel most comfortable in making a decision and moving forward with the company they're working with get faster results. Because if not, what we end up finding is a lot of people struggle to get the insights or results they're looking for because they never make a decision. So they want something to be achieved in January, but they don't even make a decision before January. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Look, I'll also tell you, there's no urgency. If you don't make a decision today, you're not hurting my feelings. The only reason I'm sharing this with you is because I believe it's the most beneficial thing for you today. So what I'll do is I'll go through this conversation with you and I'll show you why I believe very strongly we're the best fit for this. And if you agree, then we can work together. Does that sound good?
Sounds fair.
David, is that something that you feel confident with, comfortable with? Is there any questions you have related to that objection?
Yeah, no, I think that's really, I think you hit a nail on the head right off the get-go, the sense of urgency and not really hitting I guess the pain points deep enough into their emotional state, right? They don't want to waste time. They either don't want to waste time. They want to make more money. They want to make a quick decision, want to make the right decision.
The biggest thing, David, pragmatically, like you were just noting, is if someone's pushing off the decision because they want to talk to as many companies as possible, they're making an emotional decision, not pragmatic. Because what you want to do is leverage the amount of time that they've already spent on calls, how many additional calls they're going to do, and how much time they're going to spend comparing and contrasting, and then never making a decision, right? That framing is very powerful. And you're like, I want to remove all of that for you. I want to make this a no-brainer to the point that you finish this call and you're like, why would I even consider another company? Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can't, but that's my mission. Is that fair to you? Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's continue. That framing will be a pre-handled objection. If you get that objection at the end of the call because you didn't pre-handle it, it's very hard to overcome.
Yeah.
Very hard. The framing would be, did I not do a good enough job today to convince you of why I believe very strongly this is the right fit for you? Well, Alex, I've already committed to these other calls. I don't want to renege on those commitments, et cetera. Like, look, I respect that. I understand where you're coming from. At the end of the day, I can't force you to make a decision today. The only thing I can say is I do believe beneficially for you, it's much more effective to move forward now versus waiting on it. You know what I mean? But I can't really force your hand. It's really hard, David, to handle that objection post call, post investment.
Earlier in the call makes more sense.
It's super important that you handle before. Yo, Matto, what's up, buddy? Orlinsky and I went to not high school actually, but I've known him my whole life. What's up, bud?
Excited to learn about this. Thank you.
Good, bro. Good to see you. Guys, what it's true, Brian. For everyone that's actually on the call, before I show, these were the ones that I was going to go through today. These were the objections that I was going to cover.
We'll rapid fire those.
Yeah, for sure. But anyone that's actually on the call itself, is there an objection that you want me to cover of these? If you want to just drop a number or speak out loud, or an objection that you struggle with that you want me to handle for you, I will handle it for you. This is your time, guys. I'm here for you. So ask me whatever you like. And if not, I'll just go one at a time. But I would love to know kind of which ones you guys deal with the most. What do you guys deal with? What do you see? What are you struggling with? When you guys talk all at the same time, by the way, it's like impossible to hear. Just for clarity.
I think they're here to see how to solve these. These are pretty common.
All right, let's do it. All right, let me roll into this. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Cool beans. All right, number 1 and 2 are before the offer is presented. These are very common objections. Like, what's the cost? Super common objection. Right before you even get into anything related to like qualification, someone just gets on the call. They're like, Kevin, before we even dive in, like, I have a pretty strict budget. Like, what's the cost of this? Like how much is going to cost me? Just, like, can we just get to that point? Do you mind? Like really, like just what's the cost? This is the frame that you handle pretty easily. Hey, I totally respect the question, right? Like if I had just a basic package of like a very specific number for every single client, I wouldn't do any calls. It would just be a VSL, like a video sales letter, basically like a video you'd watch that would explain to you at the end what the pricing is. The reason we don't have that is because we provide a custom solution to every client we work with to identify what's the most effective solution to get the result that you want. So for example, if I work with a car dealership that wants to sell 20 cars versus another one that wants to sell 200, the idea of saying, well, what's the price? Well, obviously those results are drastically different. So I need to get a better understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. But I can tell you at the least, like very minimum, there's no service that we offer that's ever lower than $1,500 a month. So if like that's already way outside of scope, then that's okay. We can stop here. But if that's within scope, then for me to understand a little bit better about kind of where you're at, what you're trying to accomplish, what obstacles you've encountered, that will give me better insight to be able to give you the appropriate pricing. Does that sound fair? That's the framing. It's very important that you understand this. Now, some of you might be like, but I do have a standard package. I don't care. Still do the same frame, because at the end of the day, it's not ever actually standard. You might have the same $2,500 a month package that you provide to chiropractors or med spas or to whomever, but it's actually never the same exact thing, mostly because if a chiropractor runs a much larger business than your average chiropractor, you're not going to charge them $2,500 a month. So you're not lying to anyone by saying like, hey, we kind of offer a custom package, even if it's not truly like fully custom, because it is possible that you might work with a dealership that, you know, on average, they want to sell 30 more cars, but one of them wants to sell 200 more cars. Well, obviously the pricing of that service is going to be very different. Is there any questions on that framing? I just want to make sure everyone's covered. There's no wrong or bad questions. You can ask me anything you need. I'm here to help you. What's the cost? Make sense? If it makes sense, can you just drop a 1 in the chat? Please and thank you. Cool.
I'll take the next one. I like
Yeah,
this
go ahead,
one.
B.
Cool. So this one, you're going to actually do a little bit of homework in advance, and it won't be homework every single time. It'll just be something you have once and you can use over and over again. But in reality, people, they've likely tried what you're selling before. They've tried Facebook ads, they've tried Google, something like that. So what you want to do is position what you sell as a new opportunity. So Beachbody did this really well with their workout program P90X. And they do this all the time where they name a thing that's very similar to other things, but they give it a unique name and it's its own brand and new opportunity. So for example, back when I was selling LinkedIn done for you prospecting, I could have just been like everyone else selling LinkedIn services, but I had the open technique, and the open technique was an acronym of optimized positioning. I'm not even gonna go through the other ones. I don't really remember them right now if I'm gonna shoot from the hip, honestly, but you go through a process. And I love that Dave Savage is here. His background's actually a great example of this. You wanna have a unique process for how you achieve the outcome, even if it's through the same vehicle as, say, Facebook ads, Google, etc. So when you arrive at this objection, what makes you different? You have this graphic, this visual, this process. I'm so glad you asked. Let me show you exactly how our system works and why this is different than what everyone else is offering. Because likely, if you're telling me you've tried this before, it's because you were only doing one of these things in a vacuum and you weren't actually following a holistic process like the open technique or the cases method or whatever you want to name it. That's a new opportunity that helps them visualize what you do. So this really isn't a matter of exactly what you say. And Alex, you're more than welcome to say how you phrase it. But to me, like this is the homework you need to do up front and having a unique offer.
I love it. One other note about like what makes you different. Again, like I was mentioning with David at the front end of his first objection, which if you guys came late, David's first objection was basically like, I'm talking to other people like before I make my decision, which you can watch the replay on if you didn't get a chance to see it. This framing right here is super valuable, but what Brian is saying is immensely impactful. Having a slide like this in your deck actually will make sure that you handle this objection before they ask it. Or if they ask it, you can still use the deck. I will come back to this slide so that I don't confuse you, but I just want to speak on this for a second in a way that will really impact you all. The idea is, first of all, when people ask you for like how you're different than your competition, it's absolutely insane how many people will throw another company under the bus. Think about it yourself. Have you really truly ever worked with anyone because they threw a different company under the bus? The answer is
Never.
probably no. So the idea that you would use that as leverage is crazy. It's like, oh, you want to work with so-and-so, they suck, blah, 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 blah. That's crazy. So what you want to do is frame actually at the front end, kind of the type of human being that you are. You would say like, hey, just so you know, David, like, I would never and don't know every single person in the competition like that offers this product, but I would never say like, oh, so-and-so company is terrible at what you do, we're better. That's not who I am or what we stand for. And I'll also tell you this transparently as well. If you were to bring me a different alternative solution for the goal that you have that is more cost effective for you and a better solution overall, I would tell you to work with them because that's my job, even though that sucks for me and I'd probably have to change some things. That's my job. But what I do know is I know the industry really well. And what I do understand is that the majority of the people in the industry don't offer what I offer. So what I've done is I've put together a very simple, like, T-chart for you to break down what we do versus what our competition does, to give you an insight of how we can actually showcase our differentiating factors from the other companies. So I'll break this down for you. Does that sound good? Perfect. So here's what we do. And then you go through blah, 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 blah. You'll always want to clarify that there's going to be things that your competitors do that you also do, because to say that you do everything different than your competitors is ridiculously stupid. That's never going to happen. Of course, they're going to do it. It would look something like this in 3, 2, 1. Look, the reality is, Peter, every single client, right? That any single agency, that's worth their weight is going to be doing Facebook and Instagram ad copy. They're going to do all the management and optimization. They should have an integrated CRM for you, and they'll have text and email nurturing. If any of the companies you're considering don't have these two services right away, you shouldn't work with them at all. I put this in as a show of good faith that like legitimate competitors of us would absolutely do this. The thing that we do that's very unique though, is we offer a guarantee on our results. We have a personal and then blah, 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 blah. The framing at the end is really key. When you say, look, the reason I put this together is because I know a lot of people want to dot their I's and cross their T's and identify like every single potential offer that's available in the space. I recognize that. But the truth is the only wrong decision is indecision. And so what I try to do is I try to help my prospects identify why we're the best in the world at what we do. And if I confidently tell someone you should work with us, I want them to feel confident with that versus I need to consult with X more companies and take another 10 days, 17 hours to make this decision when the best option is right in front of you. And if I can say this before I finish, if I had a time machine, okay, and I could fast forward 90 days into the future and show you the results that you'd be working with by working with us or getting by working with us, you'd be running through a brick wall to make this happen. It is a no-brainer. It is the right fit for you. That's why I did the due diligence. Are you good with that? That's the framing. Carson, what's up?
I was just wondering, this slide that you just showed, is this only an objection slide, or is this part of your demo? Is like this is
Part of
our
my demo.
value stack?
Part of the demo.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying like it's really good to have all the objections that you can handle pre them asking is just a very valuable showcase of your knowledge and expertise. There's really weird sales coaching out there in the space today. I'm not going to call anyone out, but this is a very weird thing. People will say, oh, don't bring up this objection because they may not bring it up. I think that's pretty disrespectful to your prospect's knowledge to think that like, oh, I do a majority of calls and the majority of people I speak to want to know what my competition offers and how we differentiate, but maybe this person won't. That's so asinine. What a ridiculous way to consider how sales is going to be held. Or they're not going to have like an objection about wanting to speak to their partner. So why would I bring that up? It's like, what are we talking about? Of course, they're going to have the objection. It's a totally normal objection to have. The more that you can handle before it's noted or said specifically from the prospect, you have a much greater advantage because it increases your LKT factor, your like, know, and trust. Because only someone of skill, Carson, of expertise, Carson, would say to someone before they ask it like this, hey, Carson, at this point in the call, by the way, most people are like, I like this. I've kind of seen this before, though. How do you differentiate yourself? Have you kind of seen anything like this? Are you probably considering other companies? Cool. What I like to do is due diligence for you. And then you show the slide. They didn't even ask you. They're like, oh, damn. They got all the T's dotted or all the T's crossed and all the I's dotted. They know what they're talking about. I should probably work with them. That's the goal of this. So absolutely not an objection slide. It's definitely something you want to have in your deck. it's still possible they bring up the objection, but anyways, go ahead, B.
I want to make the point too, like you're going to learn all of this by actually doing it, which is why we encourage you to focus in on an industry, because they will roughly have the same objections that once you go through that 10, 20 times, you're like, oh, I need a slide for that to pre-handle it. So knowing this all in a vacuum right now is trying to be perfect. It's not going to be the answer. We have to go do it, fall on our face, like, oh shit, I got that objection. How do I solve that next time? So
Yeah, exactly.
let's hit the next
And that's
one.
a perfect example. No one here and no one that I coach bats 100%. That's impossible. No one's going to do that. I like referencing baseball here. Matt, who's a good friend of mine, knows that I absolutely hate baseball. But in general, like Hall of Famers bat 30%. Hall of Famers, literally best of the best. So the idea that you're going to be closing at a 70 or 80% rate, that's crazy. Come on, let's be realistic here. Unless you're selling like the most ridiculous offer in the world, but it's unlikely. Okie dokie. Number 3. How many people have heard this objection before? I've been burned before. Have you ever dealt with this one before? Drop it in the chat if you have, or give me a thumbs up or
Then
anything.
you should just probably give up and stop trying to grow your business forever.
Yeah, that's the answer, actually. That's how you handle the objection. You just say F it and I'm done. No, I'm kidding. That doesn't make any sense. By the way, if you guys are on here and you can have your video on, have it on. If you can't, it's all good. No worries. Won't hurt my feelings, but creates a better environment. So if I've been burned before, this is how you handle it. What's up, Nate? Drive safe, please. This is how you handle the objection if I've been burned before. Now, usually this is not very easy to handle objection, but you can also lead them to bringing it up. Now, again, a lot of people be like, why would I lead them to bring it up? If you don't lead them to bringing this up and they think it, but they don't tell you, then they're going to ultimately give you a maybe at the end of the call. Remember that the majority of sales calls end with a maybe. The majority of sales calls end with I need to think about it. I need to talk to my partner about it. Can you send me a proposal, please? I need to move money around. I have to talk to 6 other companies. Whatever thing that's not a yes or a no is a maybe. And the majority of sales calls end with maybe. If you look back at your last 25 sales calls, I guarantee more than half of them ended with maybe. Probably more than 75%, but more than half of them ended with some veiled version of maybe. The thing is with maybes, we never know what's a real maybe or a fake maybe. So I'll give you an example. Someone gets on a call with Carson. They love Carson. If you haven't met Carson, he's a great guy, wonderful dude. He came to our event. He's a good dude. So it's easy to connect with him on a call. So Carson, someone's like, dude, I love this. It's great, yada, yada. But really in their mind, what they're saying is, I can't say no to Carson. I can't. It's impossible. I don't have the audacity to say no because I don't want to have to deal with him like, trying to get me to say, yeah, I don't want to do it. So in their mind, they're just like, yeah, Carson, send me the proposal and the invoice. I'm just going to move some money around and we'll do it. Right. Carson's like, amazing. Boom. Here's the proposal. Here's the invoice, celebrates with his brother, Seth, got the deal closed. I'm so excited about it. And then the person ghosts. Who's had that experience? Everyone's had that experience. The reason why we have that experience is because what's actually happening is they have an objection that's not being identified. And the majority is that objection that been burned before. It's obviously more than that sometimes, but it's the burn before objection. So in the conversation of the call, if you can get to the position and portion of the conversation that gets them to a place where you're like, have you ever worked with any marketing companies before or whatever you offer, SaaS or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Any of those things, right? Any of those things. If you can do that call, okay, and explain to them, hey, have you worked with any companies before? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. It wasn't a good experience. Oh, perfect. Can you explain to me a little bit more what happened so I can better understand what we can do to make sure you won't have that experience again? And then they'll start explaining what happens, yada, yada, yada. This is how you frame and handle this, okay? Look, Brian, I totally understand the frustration. It's a crappy experience to make an investment into something that you really believe will work and then it doesn't work, whether the expectation setting was inappropriate, whether they just were bad at their results, whatever the circumstances were. What I would like to tell people at this point of the conversation is, first of all, I commend you. You've been burned before. You've had a problem. You still have the problem, but you're still on this call because you want to solve it. And I don't think that should be just brushed under the rug, like that's something you should be proud of. You should be proud of that, and I commend you for it, and I'm grateful that you'd consider working with us, even though you've been burned before. The second thing I say is anyone that has been burned before consistently believes that this is a completely lost cause. There's nothing that I can get from the previous investment I made. And the reality is that's just not true. The insight you just shared with me already gives me a leg up to maneuver how we can get you results faster. The more information I can get about what this previous company did, the more I can give you insight. And then lastly is this, and I'm going to be pretty blunt about it if it's okay. You know, a lot of times I'll get this objection at the end of calls related to, oh, I've been burned before, so I don't know if I want to do it. Here's the thing, like at some point we have to overcome that ourselves, right? Because how many calls do you want to do where you're going to say the same thing over and over? How many calls are you going to do where you're just going to say, well, I've been burned, I've been burned, I've been burned. That just ends up being a never-ending objection that you provide. Someone has to make you get to the point of recognizing, yeah, I have been burned before, but I believe that this person that's speaking to me will not burn me. And the best thing I can say to you is, I will not burn you. I believe in this. I know this is the right fit for you. When you do that frame, it's a pragmatic frame for the person who is emotionally expressing to you that they've been burned to recognize, wait, that's true. If I keep saying I've been burned before, I'm just going to keep wasting time on calls where I'll never make a decision. And that makes a massive, massive difference. Yeah, Kevin, everyone's being ghosted. Don't worry. Me too, by the way. So don't stress on it. It's all good. Brian, that's fine. No stress, man. I'm just going to keep rolling for them. Yeah. Any questions on that? I've been burned before objection.
Go for it.
Any questions before I move off of it? Okay, cool. Was that valuable? Did it help? Drop a 1 if so, and we will continue. Yeah, Mike, the whole thing's recorded in the Facebook group and it will be sent by email on the replay. All right, let's move on to number 4. Brian, you said you wanted to take this?
I was gonna jump down to number 5, but honestly, like you said, a lot of these are just blanketed,
All 3 of these
objections for something a little bit deeper, because really what
Yeah.
you're trying to uncover here is the real objection. And like, hey, so totally respect that. What are you needing to talk to them about? What are you hoping to understand? And by the way, this is also something where you need to have handle in advance, where you are asking at the front end of a conversation, hey, does anyone else need to be involved in this conversation in order to make a decision about working together? Because if you're not finding that out at the very beginning and you do an hour and a half long meeting with someone's like, I actually have to run this up the ladder,
Sucks.
that was on you. You have to handle that one in advance. But I'll let you take it, Alex, for what happens when you're getting that. Even
Brian,
if
I get a lot of people
ask that and they say they make all the decisions, but I need to talk to my wife now. Take it away.
Yeah, well, I also want to frame for what you just said at the front end. Like a lot of people get nervous about asking that frame at the front end of like, is everyone here that's a decision maker? Because it feels abrasive. Like, what, do you only care if I'm the one that makes a decision? Like you won't do a second call, like that kind of mindset. It's a really easy frame and a small switch that you have to do. It's just like, hey, Aaron, the insights that I'm going to share on today's call, you're going to end up having 2 choices, right? You can work with me to implement them, or you can more than welcome to try it yourself. Is everyone in the marketing kind of department, like who makes the decisions and implementation on this call? Or is there someone else that I'll have to speak to afterwards, just so I can make sure I provide the right insight today? No, Alex, I'm the one that makes the decisions and implementation. Perfect. Oh, no, it's actually Marie, but I have to be the first person to kind of approve it before you speak to Marie. Okay, totally fine. Now what you know is the call is not a sales call. It's selling Marie, or selling the person to sell Marie to get on the call with you. That's the framing. That's how it works. So guys, it's been a 30-minute show. I have additional time. I'm happy to go through all the rest of the objections if you want to. All you have to do is just drop a 7 if you want me to. Before that, I will say this. Brian and I do the weekly show every single week in this Facebook group on the exact same link, this link you're on right now.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Lee.
or some type of
I
tape.
think he's just talking to himself. That's all good. I'll mute everyone that jumps in here. So we do this show every single week, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's live in our Facebook group and it's live right here on this chat. All the replays will be sent out to you. If you want to consistently join this call, we're going to have new topics every single week. And we're here to support you, of course, on anything you need for scaling your agency or coaching program. I will provide you with this link, which is an add event link, and it will just be added to your calendar with all of the insights so that you can join us. All right, looks like you guys want me to keep going, so I will. Brian has to run, I think he already did, for one of our kickoff calls for our clients. So I'll keep it going here, and any questions you guys have, let me know. Before I continue on the actual ones that I prepared, is there any objections that anyone that came on a little bit later that you struggle with, that you want help with? Marianne or Aaron or John? Marianne, go ahead. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Sorry, I was actually in the event page, like the
Yeah,
Facebook Live.
we're not
and
going
it
to do
wa-
the event pages
Oh,
anymore
okay,
because it gets it
sorry.
all
I had
confusing.
no
You're good.
idea. I'm glad I caught you anyways.
No worries.
The major objection I'm getting is the Facebook quality of leads are extremely low. So
Says
my
who?
niche is realtors.
Okay, so your realtors are telling you, hey, I like this, but I've already worked with other agencies that do Facebook ads and the quality has been very low. Is that right?
Either that or they've heard from other realtors
Oh, that doesn't matter.
that that the
That part doesn't matter.
quality
Okay.
leads are shit, basically.
Okay, got you. Hold on 1 second. I will share with you how to do this right now. Give me 30 seconds
Thank
to pull
you.
up a slide. Has anyone else been struggling with the like lead quality objection before? It's pretty common. I'm glad someone brought that up because that wasn't something I was prepping on for today. So that's awesome. Okay, can you see my screen in? Nope, hold on. I gotta like pull it up on preview. Okay, there we go. Can you see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay, cool. So this is how it's handled. And again, this is kind of something you want to pre-handle. I'll do it for you in 3, 2, 1. Hey, so Marianne, a lot of realtors obviously are asking like, you know, what is a quality lead? One of the most important things that I want to do on these calls before I work with any realtor is ensure that you and I are on the same page as to what the qualification is, what a real quality lead is. Because of course, your goal is to get more listings or to get more sales for your homes. But at the end of the day, if you and I are not on the same page of what a quality lead is, then you're not going to be satisfied with the service ever. What we found is that a lot of agencies end up being totally fine with these 3 elements being the qualification, what we would state as 3-star quality leads. Just an email, just a name, just a phone number. There's no mortgage information. There's no finance information. There's no urgency information. There's nothing available to you other than a name, email, and phone number. And you don't even know if they're buyer or seller's leads, right? Have you ever seen this before? You have? Okay, cool. What we like to do is provide only 5-star quality leads. That's the only thing that we provide at our company. Yes, of course, email, name, and phone number for contact information, but we're also providing you a time frame, meaning the urgency level they have if they're looking to sell their home immediately or buy a home immediately, or how fast they're looking to. Our goal is to understand what you would like to have in terms of your pipeline. But of course, you know, majority of people want it immediately. We expect the time frame to be within 1 to 3 months. Is that a reasonable frame for you? Perfect. Okay. And then the financial qualifications, if they have actually the budgeting available to them in order to get the loan or in order to move forward with the mortgage side of things, or in order to even work with you in the first place. These are the types of leads that we will provide for you. If I was to able to provide you 20 of these leads per month, would this be something that would be impactful for your business? Okay. Now, Marianne, this framing is done before the leads. Before that objection, excuse me. I don't know what I just said before the leads. Sorry. Before the objection. Say right after, Marianne, they say what you just said, which is, yeah, I get it, Alex. But, you know, honestly, though, I've heard before that Facebook leads are bad. Like, okay, that's fair. I'm going to use a frame. It might not work, but I'll share with you why it may work. How did you get on this call? You saw it out on Facebook, right? And what happens if you pay me to work with me today? You're a client, right? Would you consider that a bad Facebook lead? No. Now I get it, right? I'm a marketing agency working with realtors. You're a realtor looking to work with people that are buying or selling their home. It's not the exact same thing. I get that. But the idea that there's just like a colloquialism or just a statement that Facebook leads are bad is just inherently wrong. I think what the ultimate model ends up being is it would be like if someone says realtors are bad, right? Are some realtors bad? Yes. Are all realtors bad? No. Are some Facebook leads bad? Yes. Are all Facebook leads bad? No. How does it work? It's based off of the qualifications of the company that you're working with. As I noted, we only provide you with 5-star quality leads, which separates us from other companies that would provide you with an email, name, and phone number. Now, there are, of course, other companies that provide even more qualifications than what we do. But for the fact of the matter, to say that Facebook lead quality is bad, it's just simply false, right? And if that's the case, I'll riddle you this, okay? What is your ultimate goal as a realtor? What's your ultimate goal? Sell more homes or buy more homes, right? That's the goal. Okay, understood. If that's the goal, and if I tell you that I can make that happen, do you care about the vehicle in which I deliver that result? Do you care if it's Facebook leads, Google leads, email leads, Harry Potter owls, door-to-door, direct mail? Do you care? You only want it to be as fast as possible, as consistent as possible, legal, right? And a return of your investment, correct? Cool. Let me and our team as experts worry about the quality of lead. We're going to provide you good quality leads. That's what we do. That's our job. I wouldn't position yourself in a thought process of saying Facebook leads are bad quality, because ultimately what that's going to do is withhold you from creating opportunities with good quality opportunities, which I have case studies to back that up. Thoughts? Marianne, does this make sense, what I'm saying?
Makes perfect sense. And how you put it is just perfectly said. Thank you. I appreciate
My
that.
pleasure. Of course, I love doing this, so I'm happy to help. Nate, you had a question for me?
Yeah, man. So no worries. I'm pulled over here. But so I'm wondering, like, if you're identifying the lead quality issue, like for dealerships, for example, it's a lot of times their follow-up. Their CRMs are outdated. They don't do a lot of the
Yeah, I got
automatic
you.
texting stuff that I offer. So how would you kind of transition that into
Such a good
maybe a
question.
question or opening up a conversation that
Yeah, it's a
alludes to
great
that
question,
point?
Nate. It's a great question. 3, 2, 1. Hey, Nate, it's totally reasonable question, right? To say like, oh, like lead quality has been an issue in the past, et cetera. Like I said, right? Like I commend you for getting on the call, even though you've had bad leads prior, right? Because you know you need leads. I get it. Here's the thing. I'm going to challenge you with something. I'm going to challenge you because it needs to be said in order to support you best. I don't challenge you because I'm trying to be a jerk or rude or inappropriate. I'm doing it because I truly believe it will make a massive difference in your business if you're willing to hear it. Can I be blunt? Cool. When people say the lead quality is bad, it is fair that we would consider some leads not to be good. I think that's a reasonable thing. To say all leads are bad is not fair and not reasonable, right? Because I work with car dealerships right now where I provide them with Facebook leads and they get more car sales right now. That is happening. So I know proof of concept, this works. It's not a hope or pray. It's not a maybe, it is guaranteed. It works. I have proof of that and I will show you that. But that being said, what I've found is that the majority of people who say lead quality are bad don't have appropriate expectations for what leads are. So I want to clarify for you. There is no lead that I can provide you that's magically going to come that day and buy a car. That is not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Now, could it happen? Like, sure. Is that the expectation I want to set for you? No, because it's not going to happen. I've worked with 50 plus dealerships. It's not like someone sees an ad at 12 o'clock is like, I need the car this second and goes to the dealership and buys it. If that's the type of quality you're expecting, I cannot deliver that. Now, the reason why I say that is because the expectation of how fast someone is going to become an actual client or buy a car is usually where the lead qualification problem comes in. So what I found is it's usually a poor follow-up system. Now, here's the thing. We solve that for you. We have our own ISA team. We do all the email nurturing and text nurturing for you. So all you have to do is when they come in from our ads, you sell them cars, which is what you do. Now, if you don't want my team to do any of the follow-up for you because you're gung-ho that your follow-up is great, which look, it might be, I could be wrong. I don't work with you yet. I don't know. I would guess it's probably not, but I don't know transparently. If you say that that is the case, okay, what we will do is we will secret shop one of your first 10 leads. Secret shopping means I'm going to provide you with a fake lead. Hold on, hear me out. I'm going to provide you with a fake lead. The fake lead will either be my mom or my brother or a fake name that I made, and it will have information that you won't know about. And we're going to see how fast you guys follow up with us, how quick you are to answer our questions, how much you follow up with us. Because owners that I speak to oftentimes don't have accountability metrics in place to identify how fast their team is getting back to leads. And that's where the lead quality problem comes in. The good news is you don't have to worry about it because we do that for you. Is that fair? That's the framing. It's pretty long-winded, honestly, Nate, because I'm kind of a long-winded guy, as you know, but you get the point. Good? Sweet. Any other questions or objections that you're dealing with that you want help with? Anyone on Facebook? I don't know why you wouldn't be on here, but if you want to ask, I'm happy to answer any. Is there anything else, John, Peter, Matt, Gotham, Arthur, Aaron, that you guys have any questions on, Kevin? Or do you want me to just continue with what I have? John, you have something for me? Do you want to unmute yourself and ask?
Yeah, hi Alex.
Hey, buddy.
I'm
Good
going
to
to
see
be
you.
trying some new marketing stuff that I've not done before,
Okay.
and I haven't got 100% confidence it's going to work.
Okay.
It might not be as successful as I hope it will be.
Okay.
It might take me a few months to get there. I'm actually
Okay.
considering offering the deal to existing customers, and I don't want to lose them just because I'm trying something new and it doesn't work.
Okay.
So what I'm considering doing is giving them a price, and if after 6 months we don't reach the mutually agreed targets, I will give them half of their money back.
No. No.
Okay, so give me
no.
an alternative.
Yeah, no, definitely don't do that. So here's the thing, right? In marketing, there's risk always, right? Inherently, there's risk. The thing that you have to do is not have to risk mitigate through your offer positioning. It's through transparency in the sales process. If you came on here, I know you would never do this, but I'm just playing this by ear. If you came on here and be like, I've never delivered this result, but I'm an excellent con artist and my clients already trust me. So all I have to do, right, is just go in there and be like, it's going to work 100%. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, fuck them, right? Now, obviously, it doesn't make any sense. You would never say that. But obviously, unfortunately, there are people that are like that. I know you won't do that. But in general, I know that that is a thing. What you have to do is just be upfront with the clients, right? It's like, look, I have a new initiative that I want to implement because I want to help my clients hit this result, whatever that result is, hit this result. The truth is, though, I've never done it before. Now, I've seen other companies do it. I've put in enough time, research, and finances to believe that I can achieve it. But in the same way, if I was selling product X that I've sold many times before, I can say with confidence, beating my chest, no doubt, 100%, we can get this result. I cannot say that for this. So here's how I've mitigated the risk for you, okay? I have drastically lowered the price to essentially at cost so that I can provide this service to you guys for 3 months. My goal in 3 months is that we hit this result. I expect there to be some bumps and bruises along the way, transparently, right? Bluntly. But I do believe the ROI positioning and available ROI to you for making this investment is significantly worth the risk. If it doesn't work after 3 months, we don't do it anymore. If it does work and you want to continue, I will agree to not upcharge you what I end up charging everyone else once it's now proven. That's my request. How do you feel about that? That's the answer. You definitely never, ever give anyone half their money back, because then what you're doing, by the way, is you're positioning that your margin is 50% and it's just bad. It's just a bad look. Don't do that.
Okay.
Helpful?
I'll do it that way around. Thanks very much.
Yeah, of course. Got you. No worries. Anyone else have any other objections I can help with, or any other questions before we run? No bad or wrong questions. Anything is totally fair game. If you don't ask, I can't help you. Anything else? All good?
Okay, can I throw one in?
Yeah, of course.
I just want to know if this is, I used to work for a long while ago, this is like 15 years ago, a company that did wall coatings. And one of the last tricks they did was at the end of the call, they booked a meeting. Sorry, they booked the engineer to go and start the work. And they found that that was the most powerful way to make sure that there was no objections. It was like the final squeeze. If the customer had any reason to panic or any worry, they then tended to say, oh, before you make that call, and they would then ask the question. Is that a good technique? Does that still work 15 years later?
Let me make sure I understand. Okay, so we're on a call. We're doing the marketing call. We want to work together. I don't tell you the price. We get to the position of the offer. Like, this is a no-brainer. Let's schedule our kickoff call.
No,
So
everything. They know the price. They know everything. They've agreed to it. And you say, right, let me, as example, okay, let me call my web designer so we can start the work on Monday.
Yeah, but
Is that a
if
good
they already
tactic?
agreed to the price, then what's the issue?
Well,
No. But what I'm
okay.
saying is, if they already agreed to the price, what objection is there? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what's the objection? Are you just asking what's the best frame for the end of the call?
Yeah.
Best frame at the end of the call is to tell, not ask. Don't ever ask your prospects. Don't be like, what do you think, Cheryl? Is this what you were looking for? Don't do that. Tell them everything you told me today, Cheryl, based on what you're looking for. The grow method is a no-brainer. We're going to get you 20 additional new listings every single month that will help add at minimum $250,000 per quarter to your bottom line. This is the right fit for you. It's a no-brainer. It's a $2,500 a month investment. This is what you should be doing. I really believe that. That's it. Speak.
Thank you.
Tell them. Don't ask. Carson, what's up?
Yeah, I just had a kind of a, I don't know if it's not much of an objection, but it was just based around trust. What do you feel is the best way that you can build trust with the prospect when you jump on the call with them? Is there anything that like stands out, or is it just be yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Industry knowledge for sure is number one. Industry knowledge and proof of concept is by far number one. So like one of the easiest ones like is when we're asking about profit margins and like the money that they make, right? So let's use Nate for cars as an example, right? Because Nate and I were just talking about this, like Nate's in POD, Carson. So we were just talking about this like 2 weeks ago or so. And you know, in the call that I audited for him, he asked the prospect, like, hey, what's the average profit you make per car? And I was like, dude, this is a huge miss on your end, because what you're doing is you're asking a neophyte question. Now, here's the thing, Carson, I don't know anything about cars. I don't know anything about the automotive industry. So if I'm speaking to a new automotive potential client, I would ask that question. How much money do you make per car? However, if I've already worked with 100 plus car dealerships, and I know that the average car sale for an average car dealership is, you know, whatever it is, $2,000, $3,000 of profit. Now framing the question like this, hey, Carson, I see normally with my clients, their average car sales roughly like $3,000 to $5,000 per car, obviously depending on the class, like if it's Mercedes or BMW, it's slightly higher, sometimes like 55 to 6. What is your average? So I can better understand like what type of marketing budget I should expect or provide for you. Just that alone, even if you're wrong, this is key, even if you're wrong, is so important. Because here's the thing, what happens? Let's say they only sell like high-end vehicles. And they're like, well, you know, like the $3,000 to $5,000 class is usually for like Mazdas and like Jeeps and stuff. We really sell like higher tier cars. So usually we're at the $7,500 to $10,000 mark. You're like, oh, that's perfect. Like I can even make you more money. Your positioning is already greater than a neophyte would ask. So even if you're wrong, that is one of like the easiest, simplest ways to increase the LKT factor, like, know, and trust factor. The other elements is like case studies at the front end of your pitch portion in a story format. A story format is just like this: 3, 2, 1. Hey, Carson, you remind me so much, by the way, of this guy, Tony. I just want to tell you a little bit about him. Yes, this is the part I tell you about our clients because I believe you're going to be just like them. But here's the thing, right? He came to me just like you with this problem. In 3 months of working with us, he was able to get this result. Now, just like you, he had already been burned before by this other company or companies just like them, but he still decided to go through with it. My strong belief is that in 3 months from now, you're going to be the case study. If you let us, obviously. If you don't let us, you won't be on there, but Tony will still be. That's what I believe. Truly, I do. That also increases LKT significantly. Industry knowledge is number one, though.
Could I ask a quick question on that story note?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've tried a story like that before, and I always sound like I sound disingenuous when I tell these like anecdotal stories. And
Dude, stop.
is there
pause?
Yeah.
Say that, use that, leverage that. You know, can I be blunt with you, Cheryl? Do you mind? This is the part of the call that always feels disingenuous, right? It's kind of that awkwardness of like being a salesperson at the end of the day, where like my job on this call is to help identify what's the best solution for you. And obviously I believe we are the best, but it's having to get you to trust me to the point of saying he's not just out to make a quick buck. I'll tell you this quick note before I dive into this. Number one, our job is a client success company, not a client acquisition company. There's no victory in you paying us. That's not the win. The win is you getting the results, blah, blah, blah result, whatever the result is, insert that. You getting 30 additional cars sold per month. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. So when I share this story, it's because that's the story that I want for you. And that's why Tony, I think, is a good example. He also wanted 30, and that's the frame. Use that to your advantage. Express that you feel disingenuous, because what does that become? genuine. When you express authenticity, transparency, and confidence, that is genuine. When you feel uncomfortable with something and genuinely tell someone, this is kind of the uncomfortable part, that is being genuine. That's how that's how you have success in sales. That's the answer, especially for someone like you, Carson, 100%. All right, Familia, I got to run because I got another meeting in 10 minutes and this went way longer than usual. I hope you enjoyed the Anti-Hustlers weekly show. Normally it's like 30 minutes, not an hour. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got value from it. If you want any help from us at POD, having your calls reviewed or audited or any other sales support, just reach out to us. Reach out to me or Brian. We're happy to help you. That's what we do every single day. If not, we will see you on next week's show and I will talk to you then. Peace, fam. I should have been like ready with the end button. I wasn't ready. Okay, now I am. Bye.